Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. Thanks for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple, or iHeart. And I invite you to please like, follow, subscribe, and share with a friend. If you missed our 2025 GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia season opener last Friday night, wow, what a game. Dramatic 38-35 victory for Cartersville over Calhoun. And I invite you to go back and check that out on the GPB Sports YouTube channel, or you can also catch it on GPB Sports On Demand on the website. I also invite you to join us this week for another incredible matchup of GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia as Douglas County plays at Buford. It'll be our first ever visit, of course, to the new Philip Beard Stadium that everybody's talking about, and that'll be Friday night at 7:30 on GPB. Please tune in. Coming up on this week's episode of the Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast, we're going to visit with Langston Hughes head coach Andrico Hines. He's the new head coach there. His Panthers coming off a huge win over Douglas County in his first season as the Hughes head coach. We'll take a look at our players of the week, also some recruiting news to share with you this week, and our top 5 games of the week to keep your eyes on. But first, let's start the podcast with our 5 biggest wins. And number 5 on the list, we start with 6A, number 3, Buford. And these are my rankings. Destroys 5A, number 9, Roswell, 65-21. Wolves 4-star and Georgia commit Ty Green, who will likely play safety with the Bulldogs, put on a show, 231 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns. Quarterback Dayton Raiola threw for 209 and 4 touchdowns. Buford is 4-0 on the season ahead of their GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia showdown against Douglas County this Friday night. Number 4 on my list, 6A, number 1, Grayson dismantles North Carolina. 8A, number 1, Mallard Creek, 63-13. Folks, I don't know who's going to beat the Rams in the regular season for sure. Maybe someone gets them in the playoffs, but I don't know, man. They are a monster right now. After opening the season with a 51-3 rout of top 10 Collins Hill, which was the only team to beat them last year, the defending 6A state champions have defeated 3 straight big-time out-of-state opponents in Rabun Gap. They were the North Carolina Independent champions last year. Thompson out of Alabama, they've won 5 of the last 6 state championships in the highest classification in that state. And now Mallard Creek. Special teams led to 3 touchdowns for Grayson. They had 2 block punts that led to scores. They also had a kick return touchdown to start the second half, and the Rams also blocked a PAT. They are stacked. They are loaded. Look forward to catching up with those guys on GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia later in the season. Number 3 on my list, and this was a stunner, 4A unranked Cass with a 35-27 shocker at 6A, number 8, North Cobb, and now the Warriors aren't in the top 10 anymore. Colonels took advantage of 4 Warriors turnovers to improve to 3-1 on the season. Cass 3-star quarterback and Mississippi State commit Brody McWhorter threw for 219 and 3 touchdowns. It was just the 8th time the Colonels have beaten North Cobb in the 24 all-time meetings, and it was the first victory for Cass over North Cobb since 1996. Number 2 on my list, 5A, number 2, Langston Hughes survived 6A, number 2, Douglas County, 44-31 the final in that one. Statement win for new coach Andrico Hines, who we're going to hear from in just a few minutes. Jumped out to a big lead in that game. They were up 31-9 and then held on for the victory. It's hard to imagine the Panthers not winning out from here on out in the regular season. I don't see a whole lot of opposition coming their way. And of course, it could be Noonan in a couple of weeks. Noonan's off to a great start, got them in my top 10. So that should be a fun matchup in a couple of weeks. But after that, don't see anybody standing in the way, really, of Langston Hughes in an undefeated regular season. If there's a question mark for Langston Hughes, it's maybe the defense. They lost a lot on that side of the ball. Obviously, their offense is humming along. They're averaging well over 40 points per game. Can their defense catch up with the offense? And, of course, the Douglas County Tigers will be trying to rebound this Friday night at Buford, not the place you want to try to get a rebound win now, is it? Number 1 on my list, the 4A Cartersville Purple Hurricanes edge out Calhoun 38-35. Fantastic game for us to kick off our GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia schedule. Hurricanes got a 26-yard field goal from Ramsey Rowell with 16 seconds left in the game for the win. It snapped the defending 3A state champions' 13-game winning streak and spoiled a great comeback by the Yellow Jackets. Now, of course, I'm calling this game, and Cartersville in the third quarters builds a 35-14 lead. It was 21-14 at halftime, and then they scored 2 touchdowns there in that third quarter. And they look like they've taken over the game, but Calhoun came back, took advantage of some mistakes, some penalties on Cartersville, and then they recovered an onside kick and then scored off that. And before you know it, we had a game again, and then Cartersville ends up pulling it out on that, last-minute field goal. And how about this for the craziest stat of the season through the first 4 weeks? Last week on the podcast, we talked to North Gwinnett coach Eric Godfrey, and we joked with him about how, his first 2 games had been decided by 21-7 finals. Well, it happened again. The 7th-ranked Bulldogs beat Mill Creek this week 21-7 in a game that, didn't end like many games, did not end until 1 a.m. because of all the lightning and storms in the area. So the Bulldogs season opener lost to Douglas County 21-7, and now their last 2 wins over Colquitt and Mill Creek have been 21-7 scores. That's just the craziest thing. I don't think I've ever seen 3 straight games where the final score was the same for a team to start the season. Just nuts. So not going to go through all my rankings here because there's, of course, 80 different teams, but you can find my rankings in 3 different places. You can go to X, Twitter, at Matt Stewart TV. I got them all there. You can go to my Facebook page at Matt Stewart Sports. I got them all there. Or my Instagram at Matt Stewart TV Sports, and you can find them all there. So just way too many just to go through them all. But I do say I do have 2 number 1s this week. In 1A D1, the Heard County Braves have moved up to number 1 after Toombs County got beat by Rome this past week. That's not a bad loss for Toombs by any means. Rome's a 5A school, and of course they upset them last year, Toombs did. But new number 1 there, Heard. And in the private class rankings, Hebron Christian takes over the top spot after Savannah Christian got beat by, one of the best, if not the best private school in South Carolina, Oceanside Collegiate. So there you go. That's my rankings, and you can check them all out, like I said, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Instagram. Time now to salute my players of the week. And at quarterback, I'm going to go with North Hall Jr. Alex Schleiman. He threw a 27-yard touchdown pass on the final play of the game to lift the Trojans to a 51-49 win over East Hall. And that was another one of those games that ended like at 2 a.m. He was 23 of 32 passing for 419 yards. Alex Schleiman of North Hall is my quarterback of the week. Running back of the week, that goes to Manchester GPB Sports. Make that kid an offer. All-state running back Darius Favors. 22 carries, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns in the Blue Devils' 46-45 win over Macon County. Wide receiver of the week, got to see this young man in person. Cartersville 4-star Brady Marchese, 9 catches for 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. Man, this kid can fly. I think they posted after the game he hit 22 miles per hour on some of his touchdowns right there. He took a pass and went down the sideline, hit like 22 miles per hour. And I joked, yeah, I can do that too in my car. He's committed to Georgia, rated as high as the number 9 wide receiver in 2026. I think Bulldog fans are going to love seeing Brady Marchese in the red and black. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, my defensive lineman of the week is Stevenson 4-star KJ Green. He had 14 total tackles, 5 TFL, 4 quarterback sacks, and a forced fumble in a 27-17 win over Decatur. Green is rated as high as the number 5 edge rusher in the country in 2027. Linebacker of the week, Hoko senior and UConn commit Weston Ard had 5 total tackles, 2 TFL, 2 quarterback sacks, a pick 6 in the Bears' 48-14 win over Warner Robins. And my defensive back of the week comes from that same game and the same team, Bears junior Ja'Cory McCoy. He had 4 total tackles. He had 2 interceptions. In fact, the Bears had 5 interceptions total in that big rivalry win over Warner Robins, 48-14, the final. Special teams, my place kicker of the week, Cartersville, Ramsey Rowell. Already talked about him. Hit that 26-yard field goal with 16 seconds left to lift the Purple Hurricanes to that 38-35 win over Calhoun. My return man of the week goes to Langston Hughes, 3-star running back in FIU. That's Florida International, by the way. Commit Quantavious Wiggins. He had a 99-yard kick return touchdown. Also had a 72-yard run from scrimmage in that game as well for a touchdown. And all-around players, I got 2 of them. I mean, I couldn't not go with one of them. I had to use both of them. They were just spectacular nights for both these guys. For Buford, who we're going to see this Friday night on GPB, 4-star in Georgia commit Ty Green had 231 all-purpose yards, had a 66-yard punt return touchdown, a 30-yard pick six, and a 22-yard touchdown run. Of course, he's rated as high as the number 6 safety in the country. My other all-around player of the week goes to Rabun County's Reed Giles. We've talked about him before here on the podcast. He was 7 for 204 receiving, had a 99-yard kick return touchdown. He was 12 for 111 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, including the game winner, scored a 22-yard touchdown run in the final 2 minutes of the game as Rabun County won a shootout over Dalton. Like, follow, subscribe, and share with a friend. Time now to bring in Langston Hughes head coach Andrico Hines. Coach Hines, thanks a lot for being with us, and congratulations on the 3-0 season start.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, and I appreciate it.
You know, a 44-31 shootout over Douglas County on Friday night, huge rivalry game for you guys. You told reporters after the game, quote unquote, we finally finished. How big was that win for your team as you enter region play this week against Banneker?
I think it was huge. I think it was a big measuring stick for us to kind of see where we are among some of the best teams in the state. Like I said, I thought in the spring game, we didn't really finish. The Buford game, we kind of had some issues finishing. So I kind of, really wanted the guys to finish, versus a really good, competitive, well-coached team. And I thought we did a pretty good job.
Well, this was a monster back-and-forth game. You guys jump out to a huge lead, I think at one point 31-9. And then, of course, as you might anticipate, Douglas County being the great team that they are, they make a run back at you guys, kind of like the Buffalo Bills did to the Baltimore Ravens last night, except in this case, you guys held them off down the stretch and made a couple more big plays than they did late in that fourth quarter to win the game.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job of continuing to fight. I think we had a couple injuries and sort of kind of allowed us to kind of change some coverage and some of the things that we were doing earlier to kind of help us. And but they were able to get back in, a great team, well coached. I was like I said, I'm just glad we were able to finish. I wanted us to kind of finish a little better than what we did, but I'm just happy we finally got a good finish.
Well, you're 3-0 on the season. Your victories have come against Westlake, Mays, Douglas County. These are all rivalry games for your guys. You've averaged 44 points per game in the process. Could the first 3 games of the season for you as the Panthers head coach have gone any better?
No, I think it kind of, it had everything that I needed to happen as a head coach, I would think, as a first-year guy. Not everything happening well, not everything happening great, having to work through some adversity. Being the offensive coordinator, Coach Cole was talking, for us to average 40, we really don't feel like we're where we want to be. So it's kind of a good thing that we're still, moving in the right direction. I think the thing I'm looking for is to just improve every week. And I think we've continued to do that. So that's the big thing, I think, moving forward that I'll continue to look for.
Well, that's a scary thought for opponents if you guys don't feel comfortable where you are at 44 points per game.
Right.
It's your 3rd season as a head coach. You spent the last 2 years at Berkmar after working with Coach Daniel Boone Williams as his OC on the 2022 state championship team, which, of course, that Panthers offense set the state record with 792 points scored in 15 games that season. How excited were you when this job came open and the opportunity was there for you to perhaps go back to Langston Hughes?
Oh, excited is exactly the word. Just the culture here, the admin, the AD, everything, about the program when I was here in 22 is something that you want to be a part of. It's like that at all the big programs. So it was just, the winning culture here. Every sport is competitive. Girls basketball played in the state championship, boys basketball in the Final Four. So it's just the culture of the school. I just really wanted to get back around a winning culture, and I was fortunate enough to get the job.
And you talk about the AD, Willie Cannon, of course, former football coach himself, and the field's named after him. That certainly helps a lot as far as, the connection of the dots from the administration to the actual coaches. So that's a big thing, I think.
Yes. No, definitely. Like I say, he opened up the school, first coach here, and just his ton of experience. He would call me on a Saturday or Friday, it doesn't matter, and kind of give me his 2 cents. And I need it sometimes. Being a young coach, I think it means a lot to have a guy that you can lean on with the experience of Coach Cannon.
What do you remember most about that 2022 run as the OC of this high-scoring Panthers team? Of course, Aaron Nolan was your quarterback back then, a phenomenal quarterback, and you guys just ran the table. I think you set the record in that, not only the point-scoring record, but you became the first team to score at least 35 points per game in every game for 15 games.
Yeah, kind of just, as a parent, you can't treat every child the same, right? So I'm trying to figure out how to treat this child and not compare it to my last one. So that being the 22 season, I don't want to keep comparing this team and that team because they're completely different teams. So it's really just trying to figure out how we want to move with this team. What are the things we want to do and how do we want to attack people? I think that's the big thing. But just trying to get everybody the ball, make everybody happy, kind of like in 22. But I thought the thing that I really focused on was I felt we got better every week. As weird as that was, I thought we improved in some aspect of the game every week. If it was pass pro run game, and that's kind of what we're doing now is improving every week at some area. And I think that's the thing right now that's most important.
Let's talk a little bit about you, Andrico. You started at Riverdale High School. You got your team to the 1998 state semifinals. At that time, the state semifinals were played at the Georgia Dome. You lost to Peach County in the state semifinals. You guys finished 13-1. Of course, after that, you went to a couple of junior colleges and went on to star at Middle Tennessee State after that. And then you were playing arena football for a number of years, a number of different teams. So you've seen about all there is to see in football. How did all those journeys as a player prepare you to become a head coach and help you relate to players today and coach these players today?
I think that's a great question, man. I just think from, starting at the bottom, junior college is pretty much the bottom.
Yeah.
Got to work your way up to the top. And, just seeing guys on my way up through the journey, just the hard work. I think that's one of the big things, just working hard and staying focused. But I think one of the things I could take from it is just the good from all the coaches, just being in different offenses, seeing what certain guys do well, what they hang their hat on. And I just felt like I wanted to take the good from every coach that I've ever been associated with and kind of add it or sprinkle a little bit into me. And just try to and be that as a coach for, my kids or whoever I would come in contact with.
There's no entitlement in junior college, and nothing is given
definitely
to
not.
you. I mean, really, I'm not going to say it's the purest form, but from a competition standpoint, everybody arrives, everybody gets off the boat at the same time, and everybody has the same amount of luggage. You're getting the same amount of food. It's like compete for your job and win it, or hit the road.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's a little saying we say we respect anybody that went to junior college. Like you say, to go there and graduate, it takes a special person. You know what I mean? Just mentally, more than anything. It didn't have anything to do with athletics. I just think it's tough mentally on anybody to have to go through a junior college and deal with what you have to do. It's kind of lower than a high school, depending on what junior college you go to, with facilities and things of that nature. So it's very humbling.
Yeah, you may in high school, you may go from being a star at the high school, playing in packed stadiums on Friday night, having articles written about you and radio and TV stations talking to you, to going to a junior college. You got 50 people in the stands.
Correct.
And and some of them are there just to clean the stadium after the game's over.
Right.
So, I mean, it is a humbling experience, but I think it's also a character building experience.
Oh, definitely.
For those who, will allow it to be that. So, you were an OC on Creekside's, co-OC on Creekside's 2013 state championship team. You've been an assistant coach at Greene County, Riverwood, Alexander, Ware County, of course, Langston, Hughes. Couple all that with your playing days. Who's been the biggest football influence in your life?
I mean, besides my dad, I think my college coach, he's just he would always have sayings, man. It was different,
Is that Rick Stockstill?
Yes, Alec Robbins. He's I'm a quarterback coach at Middle Tennessee State.
Oh, okay.
And what was interesting about Coach Robbins, he was like 60 at the time, and every other coach was in their 30s, so he was a little older it was more wisdom, but just the mental toughness, just how to be a good player, just how to prepare, things of that nature. As I felt like some of the things that I was able to carry with me in life more so than just ball.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of your personnel you have on your team this year, starting with your quarterback, Darnell Kelly. He was actually a freshman, I think, on the 2022 state
Hmm.
championship team. And then he spent the last 2 years at Peachtree Ridge, making a name for himself there. He's come back to the Panthers for his senior season and play with you as well. So you're very familiar with Darnell. What have you seen from
Yes.
him then in his senior season?
Just growth mentally. I think he's really working hard every week. He's stressing me out, just wanting to get on the phone and want to talk and watch film. So I think from that aspect, he's definitely growing, just loving the position more so, just trying to be the best he could be at the position. He loves to be coached hard. He wants to be challenged. So I think those are the great things about him being back. I think he really wants to taste of winning the state championship. I think he's been on a team, but it's kind of like if you're a real competitor, that was kind of Aaron Nolan's championship. So I think he's real hungry to kind of get his own.
Yeah.
So but I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, and he's committed to Colorado State. You might have the best running back tandem in the state with Florida commit Carson Alday Baker. I love this guy. And FIU commit Quantavious Wiggins. On Friday night, Baker had an 84 and 79-yard touchdown run against an incredible Douglas County defense. And then Wiggins had a 71-yard touchdown run and a 99-yard kick return that was huge in that game. Talk about your running back room.
I think the whole summer, I think they bought in. I kind of, when I got here, I wanted to challenge those two just for being leaders on the team, and I was saying if you guys could compete at a high level, I think everybody else will want to compete at a high level. But it's just you guys competing against each other the whole summer, and whatever drills we would do, I would kind of put them against each other to compete. And I think that kind of made them come closer together, but it also made them want to go harder. So I think, like you say, when Quantavious scores a touchdown, Carson wants to come in and score a touchdown. So it's a great deal of competitive, but I think they root for each other. So it's a good thing on both ends to just have those guys to have each other back. I don't think it's any selfishness. I think that's the good thing about it. They're true teammates, and I think with them and when they go hard and when they push each other, I think it forces everybody else to have to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, Carson's not at the top of the recruiting rankings in the running back class. I mean, he's got a 4-star rating, which is great, but I haven't seen anybody better than that guy.
Nah, I mean, I tell you this. Quantavious Wiggins they complement each other well. I think that's the big thing. I think they complement each other, and I think their personalities complement each other as well too. Because Carson could be a sore in somebody's side because he doesn't start, but he's not. He's a great teammate. He's a great leader. He buys into his role, and when it's his time, he wants to be the guy. So I think they bought into whatever it was before I got here, and I'm glad to have, so I don't have to try to figure it out myself.
Yeah, I like them both. I think they're both outstanding. In your wide receiver room, you lost a lot from last year's team, but you're bringing Jamarian McKinney from Dutchtown, a great wide receiver, probably a little bit under the radar in my book. Probably should be getting more offers than he's got. And then, of course, you got 4-star tight end, Florida State commit Xavier Tiller. Tell us about your pass catching game.
Oh, I think I really wanted to focus on the run game earlier in the year to kind of bring the pass along. Like I kind of told Darnell, it's like I think everybody's paying to see the backs right now. So let's give them what they're paying for, and then we can kind of work on ourselves on the back end. But no, I think the receivers are doing a great job just buying in, leading with the young crew. I think we have a great young crew coming up with the Jamarian, Xavier, JB. We have a lot of guys that are really helping set the standard for the future. And I think they're doing a great job and showing those young kids how to practice, how to be, I guess, a pro really, how to do things when you don't want to do it, how to prepare. So I think they're doing a great job of just setting examples of, and they're not complaining right now. I think that's a great job. They understand we got 2 great running backs, and when they have their opportunity, I think Xavier's really buying in, and I think he's benefited from it. He's caught a touchdown every game. He's been involved. So no, I think everybody's buying in. Change is hard for people sometimes, and I think they have done a great job with me coming in and with the change of Coach Boone leaving and me coming in. So my hat goes out to the guys and just buying in and believing.
It's amazing that Langston Hughes could have back-to-back incredible tight ends like you have. I mean, literally, you had Jelani Thurman before him at Ohio
Yes.
State now, and then you follow that up with Xavier Tiller. Y'all doing something right down there.
Yeah, and we got another one. I got a ninth grader that's going to be another one special, Jonathan
Wow.
Jackson. So he's going to be about 6'5", 6'6", same deal. So we want to be known as tight end you a little bit.
Well, I think you are. You're well on your way to doing that. In order to have a great running game, you got to have an incredible offensive line. You lost 4 starters off of last year's offensive line, including 2 Power 4 conference tackles, but you got another one there in junior Kelsey Adams. I haven't had the opportunity to see Kelsey play in person yet, but he's rated as high as the number 5 offensive tackle in 2027.
Yeah, I got a lot coming back. I will have 5 linemen coming back next year. I'm replacing 4 this year. And like I say, fortunate enough to get a guy like Kelsey Adams. He's just been coming over, wanting to work, wanting to get better. I think he got to us about 270. Now he's about 300. So he's been working his butt off all summer, picking up weight, doing all the things. And he wants to be great. So I think that's another thing that's going to help us as well. Just, guys that's coming in and wanting to be better and wanting to work. He doesn't shy away from work, and that's one thing I love about him.
You guys produced great offensive linemen, of course. Bo Hughley, who was on that 2022 state championship team, now at the University of Georgia. So congratulations to you guys on that offensive line. Defense, you lost a lot as well. You did bring back Ajay Griggs and Keyshawn Braxton at that linebacker spot, and Julian Byrd added at the corner spot. And Keyshawn just recently committed to Eastern Michigan here in the last couple of weeks. I've always been a big fan of Keyshawn. I think he's highly underrated, and I think, when he gets to the college level, he's going to prove a lot of people wrong, because I think he is going to end up performing and producing much higher than the recruiting projection and expectation for that guy.
No, I agree. I think he's an edge, kind of been playing out of position a little bit. I think we've been having his hand in the ground, and I don't think he will probably be that in the college. I think he'll be a stand-up guy, outside back or edge type deal. So we're kind of moving into some of those things this year to kind of get him prepared for that next year, and I think he's benefiting from it. But kind of like you alluded to earlier, I think he's a great kid, man. I love him to death. One of the leaders of the team, and I joke with him all the time, just about getting to the quarterback, just, doing the right thing, because he wants to sack the quarterback every play. And I tell him all the time, just make the play that comes to you. Don't make every play. That's our thing. And because Keyshawn will try to make every play. And, you can't be mad about it. But just kind of want him to calm down a little bit. But no, Matt, he's one of my favorite guys here, to be honest with you. Just love his personality, love his work ethic. And I agree with you. I think he'll be a sleeper.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about this young man for many years to come, long after he's left Langston Hughes. So I'm looking forward to watching, what he does in his career. My final question for you, 5A is incredibly deep. There's probably 5 teams, in my estimation, that could win the state championship. You're one of those 5 teams. What does your team have to do, if anything, or improve on anything, in order to make sure that they're that team at the end of these 14 weeks that wins the state title?
That's a great question. I agree. I think it's about 4 or 5 teams as well. I just think we have to play Langston Hughes ball, not look ahead at anybody, and just continue to get better week to week, and just focus on the things that we need to. I think, like you say, some great football coaches in 5A, some great teams in 5A. Langston's been there for the 3 of the last 4 years playing for a state championship. So I think we kind of know the expectations of what to expect. It's just, taking care of our business, doing the things that we need to do to get out. Like I said, the DC game was 31-9 at a point. We really just got to finish stronger and make sure we do the small things to just live to see another day in the playoffs. Like you say, it's very competitive. Coaching gets way better in the playoffs. So we just hopefully we're healthy and we could just compete at a high level.
Well, Andrico, thanks a lot for being with us. Congratulations. I'm excited to see that you're there at Langston Hughes. You got a team that can compete for the state championship. I remember when you were playing at Riverdale. I remember when you were playing at Middle Tennessee State. I'm glad to see that your career path has led you to this program.
Matt, you're showing your age a little bit, so don't say you remember me from all those years.
No, I do, but I do remember you from all those years. So.
Nah, I know. I really appreciate you. Thanks for your coverage. You never need anything, Matt, please give me a shout.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Look forward to catching up with you later in the year.
Sounds good. Take care.
Great to catch up with Langston Hughes coach Andrico Hines. First time I've ever talked to Andrico. I've followed his career, as I mentioned in our conversation, but first time I've ever visited with him. So I have a feeling we're going to be talking to Coach Hines a lot this year and in the years to come with that Langston Hughes program. All right, like, follow, subscribe, share with a friend, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple, or iHeart. Let's start the second half of the podcast here with some recruiting news. It's been a while, a couple of weeks that were just really dead there where no activity was going on, but we finally have some more recruiting news to report here in the state of Georgia. And let's begin with North Oconee 2027 three-star safety Harrison Luke. He committed to Clemson over 6 other offers. This is not a big surprise whatsoever since Harrison's dad is Coach Matt Luke. He's the Tigers' offensive line coach, and, of course, you probably remember him as the former offensive line coach for the Georgia Bulldogs. So Harrison Luke going to follow his dad there and play for the Clemson Tigers. Northgate, 6 foot, 210-pound senior linebacker Bryson Davies committed to Marshall over 8 other offers. Sprayberry, 6'1", 180-pound senior safety Noah Voltaire committed to Austin Peay over 6 other offers. And Banneker 3-star offensive tackle Jared Doty decommitted from the Georgia State Panthers. His decision came 1 week after he picked up offers from Georgia, Auburn, and Missouri. So he's committed to the Panthers, and then all of a sudden he's got 3 offers roll in from SEC schools, so he decommitted from the Panthers. So that's kind of the way it goes for Coach Dell McGee. I've seen this happen before. Coach Dell McGee is such an outstanding recruiter. He goes and finds these players that nobody really knows about. He uncovers the diamond in the rough, and as soon as he uncovers these players, teams, his former employer, Georgia being one of them, Auburn and Missouri, they look and they say, wow, if Del McGee thinks this guy's good, he must be really good. And they start looking at him, and then they offer, and the next thing you know, Georgia State's lost that commitment. So seen it happen before, probably going to see it happen again, unfortunately, for the Panthers in that regard. Before we go, going to take a look at the 5 biggest games to watch this week. I'm going to start with number 5 on my list. I like to do it in descending order, build some drama, right? You can feel the drama as you're listening or watching. You can feel the drama building. All we need is the drum, right? So maybe next time. All right, number 5 on the list, we've got 4A number 1 North Oconee versus 3A number 8 Jefferson. Both teams are 4-0 in the season. This is a huge rivalry game. Titans, of course, defending 4A state champs, and Dragons are 2024 3A finalists. North Oconee 35-0 winners last year en route to the state title. Highest rated players for North Oconee, you got 4-star Georgia commit Kamari Brooks, rated as high as the number 13 edge in 2026, and Jefferson 4-star Clemson commit Max Brown, rated as high as the number 9 linebacker in 2027. That should be a heck of a battle right there. Number 4 on my list, I have 6A number 9 Colquitt County at 5A number 4 Lee County. Packers have played only 2 games, and they're 1-1 on the season. Trojans already 4-0. Of course, they got to the semifinals last year. Colquitt got knocked out in the second round in 2024 after getting to the quarterfinals or semifinals in 3 of the previous 4 years. So they're trying to get back to that. Lee beat the Packers last year for the first time ever after losing the previous 12 all-time meetings. So this should be a heck of a ball game. Highest rated players to watch here, Colquitt County, of course, 4-star Georgia commit Jay Lamar. He's rated as high as the number 11 running back in 2026. And for Lee County, you got 4-star Stanford commit Lasiah Jackson. He's rated as high as the number 14 cornerback in 2026. Number 3 on my list, you got 4A number 4 Blessed Trinity at 5A number 5 Milton. Titans 3-0 on the season, defending 5A state champion. Eagles are 2-1. Just the second all-time meeting between these two teams. Eagles beat BT 28-14 last season on the way to their historic 15-0 record and number 1 national ranking among public school programs. It was the closest game that Milton played in their final 12 games on the way to the state championship. Highest rated players, Titans 5-star DJ Jacobs. He is rated as high as the number 1 edge rusher in 2027. Milton 4-star Grant Haviland. He's the highest rated player for the Eagles, and he's rated as high as the number 1 tight end / wide receiver in the 2027 class. Number 2 on my list, you got 6A number 3 Carrollton at 5A number 3 Gainesville. Trojans are 4-0. Red Elephants are 3-0. Carrollton got to the state finals last year with now Colorado freshman quarterback Juju Lewis at the helm. Gainesville, they're looking to rebound here in 2025. Looks like they're doing that. Had a disappointing 7-4 first-round exit last year. This is just the fourth all-time meeting with Carrollton winning 45-16 last season. Highest-rated players for the Trojans, it's four-star Michigan commit Dorian Barney. He's rated as high as the number 15 cornerback in 2026. And for Gainesville, it's five-star Alabama commit Elijah Griffin. He is rated as high as the number 1 linebacker in 2026. And number 1 on my list, 6A, number 4, Douglas County. At 6A, number 2, Buford. This is your GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia Showcase Game of the Week. Tigers 3-1, Wolves are 3-0. Buford off to a tremendous start playing in their brand new $62 million Philip Beard Stadium. They got wins over 3 top 10 teams, Milton, Benedictine, and Roswell, and they've outscored those 3 opponents by an average of 42-16. Douglas County, as we've already talked about here on the podcast, looking to rebound from their first loss of the season when the Tigers were beaten at high-powered Langston Hughes 44-31 last week. This is the third all-time meeting with the Wolves winning 31-14 last year in Douglasville. And, of course, both these teams would go on to reach the 6A semifinals. Both these teams are a who's who of recruiting, the highest-rated players to watch in this game. But, I mean, there's so many of them, but we'll just do the highest-rated because we only have so much time. Buford five-star Texas A&M commit Bryce Perry Wright, rated as high as the number 2 edge in 2026. And Douglas County four-star Aaron Gregory, who is also committed to the Aggies and rated as high as the number 10 wide receiver in 2026. So that's going to be a heck of a game, and I invite you to join us Friday night at 7:30 on Georgia Public Broadcasting, GPB TV, for the GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia Game of the Week. Going to be a lot of fun. Join me with Wayne Gandy and John Nelson on our GPB Army out there in Buford. Look forward to being in that stadium, too. I've heard it's spectacular, and this will be the first time I've been able to step inside there and call a game. So join us on Friday night. That'll do it for the podcast. Again, like, follow, share, subscribe, tell a friend about it, and we'll see you next week on the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast.